Well, talking of local interest, and I'll tell you later, but I thought I've got a lot of pictures of our locks on our waterways. We've got 5. Now we're 5 locks on our system. The Stamp End on the Witham in Lincoln, and then there's Bardney Lock on the Witham. Then up the Kyme there's Bottom Lock. And then on the navigable drains there's Anton's Gout, which is the entrance to the drains. And then there's Cowbridge Lock, which is just between the levels of the drains. So I thought, my local one, obviously, it's only a third of a mile from home. What you do, and this isn't how to use a lock, by the way, I've got a video of it, which you might like to see. So what I'm going to do is just let a little bit of water out, just a bit, and just tell you a little story while I'm here. Nearly died in this one. Oh dear, you don't fall in, right, because I can't swim, and it was on my first little boat, and I was up there, and my mate was with me, and he was messing about, reading about the lock instead of helping me. I got a bit mad, and I flung a rope across onto that, and I caught it, but I was near enough, and I tipped forward, and I couldn't hold on and fell in, and I had a job to get out if you haven't been here. That taught me not to do that. Right, that's enough water out anyway. So that's one of the stories. And so as this is an easy one and it's local, I thought I would just show you it. And I've got a lot, as I say, I've had a look this morning. I was just, you know, so it made me think of it. Well, you know, I made that little knife the other day. I got it finished. It's not highly polished, but I polished it a bit, finished the handle and oiled it, you see. Anyway, what started all this, I thought, I've got my furnace and that cast spring. I wonder if I can make a knife out of it. That's what started it all, isn't it? So, there's a lot of problems not having the proper equipment. Can I heat it enough? Anyway, I've got that old one, which I've had for years. I got it in a junk box somewhere, and I found I used to carry it on my boat just in case you got anything around the prop. Cut it off. Well, I did get stuck, and this is the story I'm going to tell you about. Anyway, long story short, it went blunt quick, and I walked up to a local farmer where I was near, and he gave me that carving knife. And after several sessions, which you'll hear about, we didn't really succeed until the next day. So it was one of my boating adventures. I thought you might like to hear about it, that's all. And I thought, well, you won't know about it. And I've got a lot of video and pictures of me boating in the locks, because I was doing it on 3 little boats for 10 years. Right, but this is the guillotine lock, as you see, and I can show you the one in the Kyme. Like I say, this isn't how to use it, but I've got my key with me, and what you do is unlock that, and sluice open, you see, and you go up, and you lift the guillotine up. Now, it only goes up a little way because there's a sensor at that end, but it'll fill up quite quickly, and in a minute it'll lift up. And you've seen the one on the Kyme, but I just want to show you very quickly, you know, how it is. So anyway, here's an important little point. If you ever fall in, you can't get out because you're too heavy and the cold gets you. You can't pull yourself out. So what you have to do is get to the ladders. And it would have been a simple job if we'd thought about it. There we are, look, you see, now the gate will lift up. And it fills, see? So we just, there you are. That's it. And this is an easy one, as I say, you just got the controls up and down the gate, you see. So, just for a live bit of video, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go home in a bit when I've been out, and as I say, I've got lots of pictures and video of all our 5 locks, because on these waterways there's 5 locks, and I was telling you the history of the waterway, wasn't I, in a week or 2 ago, and quite a few were interested. You know, quite a few expressed an interest, plus my ride out the other day. And while we're in the middle of the lock, just there, it looks in the distance, but a bit gloomy day, but I can sure you can see over the sluice in the trees there's the cathedral. So that's where we are. Well, I think I'll tell you the tales of boating. One of the tales of boating, I should say. Now, obviously it's years ago, but we used to go to a barbecue at Leicester. I did it once on my boat, a long trip. Anyway, one chap came, it was one of his first trips, and I think he summed up boating very aptly, because he said it's hours of tranquility interspersed by moments of sheer terror. Alright, this isn't quite the sheer terror moment that he was talking about, but it was certainly an inconvenience. But what happened was, on a Tuesday night we often did the Boston boat trip. I've actually done a video of it, and I've done a new edit of it as well. And me and my friends, Roy especially, you know, what we did, we went down to Boston on Tuesday evening and stayed the night there and came back Wednesday afternoon. Well, the water level, by the way, on the Lower Witham is lowered from November to April. Well, when the water came up this year, I thought, well, I'll go to Boston, you know, and Roy wasn't going, I was on my own. So I set off, and of course, when you're boating, you know, you get there, and we used to go to the fish shop, I did, and, you know, treat myself, and, but there's not a lot to do, you know, it can be a longish night. So anyway, I was going along, and I was plenty early enough to get there. And as I passed Anton's Gate Lock, just past there, I thought I saw something on the edge of the river. Now, I wasn't worried about going to the edge of the river, of course. You know, it didn't worry me in the slightest. I had a big tough boat, and if I got anything around the prop, you know, I had a knife on board, as you've seen. And it wasn't a problem, like, you know. So anyway, it was this night. Oh dear. So I went to near the riverbank, and the blooming boat stopped, didn't it? Got somewhere around the prop. But worse than that, it was embedded in the riverbank, and I couldn't move it. I couldn't get to the riverbank to get it off, which, you know, in the shallow water. Well, I had my stove, of course, on that boat, and I had my knife. So I carried, by the way, 2 gangplanks, and they were actually made, they're a bit bouncy, but they were actually made of those pine offcuts that you've seen are still used today. So I put the gangplanks up, and they reached, I did have to tie them together, I can't remember, anyway, they reached the bank, that's all that matters. And of course I had Barney with me then, you see, and we had to get off. Well, at Anton's Gate there's a nice pub, and it used to, I don't know if it still is, but it was a very dog friendly pub, so you could take your dog in, you could even have a meal, you know, and have your dog with you. Well, so that was partly why we used to stop there. So I wasn't too worried anyway. I lit the fire, made sure it was going well, and it was on wood enough, of course, and you've probably seen that it had a ladder on the back, so I clambered down the ladder on the back, and the water came over my Wellingtons. I took my jumper off, I only had my t-shirt on. Well, it was pretty cold, I mean, it wasn't, you know, start of the year. Well, I did 4 hacks with this knife, and it went blunt. Oh, blooming marvellous, eh? I don't know what it was. Well, I do now. I think it was one of those nets that they put on small trailers to keep sheep in, you know, keep a couple of sheep in. I think that's what it was. But it was like rope, nylon rope, made out of like fishing line. That's what it turned out to be. But it's the only serious problem that stopped me. Anyway, what happened was, as I say, I got off and had to get a bit wet. And after few cuts and sawing about, it was getting cold, so I got off and carried a change of clothes. And as I say, I had my fire going, so took my clothes off, got warm, changed clothes, drying the others, and I thought, well, I've got to do something. Well, there's a local farmer that I knew through boating, so we got off, got Barney off over these rickety gangplanks. He wasn't very keen, but we managed it, and walked up to see him, and he gave me that carving knife that you've seen. So I went back. Well, that was better, but it still wouldn't really do the job. So I had quite a few attempts. Anyway, we got dry and went to the pub and had a nice meal. And I rang Roy and I says, oh, I'm stuck. Told him the story, you see. And he says, oh, anyway, rang back in a bit. Well, if you're still stuck, we'll come and rescue you. Right. So that's what happened, actually. I kept getting off and having a go at it, you know, I had several attempts. And as I say, each one took at least half an hour because it was, you know, you got cold, had to get off, get dry, and then have another go and so on. Anyway, they arrived next morning and with difficulty pulled me off. It was fast in the river. So anyway, they towed us back to Chapel, where I was actually on his mooring at the bridge. That's the entrance to the Kime, which you can see on the end of the Kime video. And I was on that little mooring there, and he towed me back there. Well, the next morning, someone I knew had the boats dropped in at Dogdyke, which is just the other side of the river to Chapel, and he was moored at Boston. And so I said, well, I'll go down and I should be able to get this, you know, the rest of this off, because while being towed back, the prop started turning. It was freeing itself. And so what I did, I just pulled it up to the bank in the shallows and cut the rest off. And I went to Boston and gave my friend a ride back to Dogdyke. So we did the trip the next day. But it just shows you, you know, you do need to be prepared. You know, you need to always carry some food and everything else. Anyway, I hope you like this little tale. By the way, if you like reading about my boating tales, if you've enjoyed this one and you fancy reading or reading a few of them, on my home page there is a link to my website. It's still active. You get some adverts and stuff, but it's on the right hand side with the picture at the top on my home page. So if you click that link and then you click boating, you can read all about my boating adventures. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little tale, and it's entertained you for a little while, if nothing else. So we'll probably see you with something else in a few days. Take care.